All right. How you guys doing today? Give me 1 second. I want to make sure everything is fine here. Yeah, so big day. Welcome back to the Future Money, the only show that gives you real-time insights on tech stocks, crypto, emerging technology before they dominate the headlines. I'm your host, Armando Pantoja, investor, futurist, and your unfair advantage in this fast-moving world of investing. Every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, we break down the moves of the big players, uncover what Wall Street won't tell you, and spotlight the future trends that could possibly build you incredible wealth. This week, Bitcoin has stormed back from its all-time lows. BlackRock overtook Coinbase and Binance at the top of the custodian of Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's a huge power shift in crypto. Analysts are now starting to call openly for XRP to surge over $20,000. XRP treasuries are now forming. And big news, huge news, Japan's finance minister, the highest ranking person in Japan, has just greenlit XRP as the number one thing that the financial industry in Japan should be looking for in the coming years. That's a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and hopefully you all can join me. So the top of the thing we want to talk about first is Nvidia. Give me a second here. Nvidia just had the earnings call. I think it's the old number. This is the old one. Give me 1 second here. I think I got the wrong notes up here. Make sure I got the right ones. So I think that's the wrong one. No, this is the right one, but for some reason it's showing old information. Okay. So I'm sorry, it's the right one. But Nvidia's earnings are now out. Market reaction was a lot cooler than expected. They had strong fundamentals. They actually beat expectations, but it wasn't by enough. So now we're dealing with growth concerns. High expectations that were on top of the stock are now starting to fade away. And now with that fast money starting to go away from Nvidia's meteoric rise up, the road ahead is starting to look choppier. Right now, Nvidia, if you can see behind me, is at 177. It's down. It's down almost 3%. It got almost 6% after hours once they announced earnings after the bell. But it's starting to recover a little bit. Post earnings, some volatility was expected. Historically, Nvidia shares have jumped or dropped by at least 3% after earnings. Now, this is a lot past what we've seen over the last previous 2 years. The downside risk is at the front and the center. Wall Street Journal has put out an article about all the risk points that Nvidia has right now. The options are hinting at an uncertainty. Even with the negative sentiment, a lot of option data is showing that there could be either way a 6% price move over the next few days. That reflects a lot of trader anxiety about the overall AI bubble that a lot of people, including Sam Altman, are starting to say is forming, and the growth slowdowns of all AI companies, not just Nvidia. Now, if Nvidia crashes or starts to retract a lot, the entire market's going to be down. Now, the market was struggling in 2021. 22. That was one of the worst years I've had in a long time in the market. I actually was down a few $1 million at the end of the year, but not realized losses, but just down in accounts. But it was starting to recover in 23, 24, 25. We've been on a straight path upwards. So, and that was all driven by AI. ChatGPT dropped at the end of 22, I believe. And that's when all of these things start to take off. Because AI, Nvidia went from where they were before to being the number one market stock in the world. So that drove the market and it increased everybody's wealth. But also, it carries the most risk because if Nvidia fails, the whole market fails. Just like Nvidia put new life into the market, 2 or 3 years ago. So you see, like I said, Nvidia is a major market, what we call bellwether. A bellwether is something that like a barometer. You can look at one thing and you can know what's happening in the overall market from that. A weak report, which is a lot of people consider the report after the bell to be, could ripple across major indexes. Traders are watching closely over the next couple of days to see how Nvidia reacts to this. Actually, they beat earnings, but it wasn't by enough. And it's something called selling the news that could also be happening. Now, the next couple of days is going to be rough, and not just because we don't know which direction it's going to go. It's going to have to choose a direction. So with Nvidia, I was explaining to somebody earlier about how this works. Selling the news is something that happens in stocks. Is that whenever there's some type of news event, it could be an announcement of a product, it could be earnings, it could be a lot of different things. Whenever there's news on the horizon, positive or negative, mostly positive, people will buy that stock up until the news, and then it will sell on the news. Now, a lot of people, especially new investors, are very, including me when I first got in, I was very confused with that. Like, why would somebody sell on positive news? Now, to be honest, the news on Nvidia was actually positive. The earnings per share expected was $1.01, but Nvidia reported $1.05, which is higher than expected, but it wasn't by enough. Now, I was explaining this to somebody earlier in the studio, the owner of the studio, actually here at Devotion, and I said, look, it's like your kid playing sports. If I have my son playing basketball, his season average is 10 points a game, and he's a 12-year-old boy or whatever. Now, if he makes 12 points every game, I expect him to make 10 points a game. That's what his average is. So if he comes back and said, Poppy, I made 10 points, I said, good job, buddy, whatever. But we don't have a big celebration for it, you know. I encourage him. It's a great job or whatever. We only have celebrations when he scores 40 points. You see, 12 points is not enough. 14, you have to do a lot more. Now, that's not the way I treat my kid, but I'm saying that's how people would see it, right? You have to beat expectations to have a good, big celebration. You can't meet expectations, no matter how good they are. 10 points for a 12-year-old is incredible. The games only go to like 18, 20 when you're that young. But because it was expected, it's not as good. LeBron James was expected to win 6 championships. He won 4. He won 4, right? So people say he failed. He didn't actually fail. He won 4 championships. But because we expected so much from him, falling short or meeting expectations is not enough. Same thing with Nvidia. It's not enough for them anymore to just barely pass expectations. So people panic, sell because they expected more from this fast-moving stock. So we got a couple of super chats. Thank you for commitment and giving us updates. I appreciate you. I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for the super chat, Shivat. Got another one, Andres. I appreciate you. You always give me a super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your knowledge. We don't have any more. Didn't you expect him to blow out earnings? You said Nvidia 200 after earnings a couple of weeks ago. Now, Joseph, I'm not always right. Okay, I was wrong. I thought they would blow out, they just barely beat expectations. So I was wrong about that. Now, in this game of investing, you will never be 100% right. You can only hope that you're mostly right. Now, I was wrong. I thought they would blow out, but they didn't. They barely beat it. So that's it's wrong. Regardless, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. It's wrong. I was wrong. I thought they would beat expectations, but they did beat expectations. They just didn't blow out expectations. So, Joseph, I did say that, and apparently I was wrong. That's the reason why it's not working. I did say that. So, James, I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much, James Benton. You always are very generous with the super chats. I appreciate you. Nvidia is still going to 200, but the timeline may have been stretched out. And to be honest, we don't know. Like right now, it's hard to judge where Nvidia is going short term because we don't know how the market's going to react. It could be, the market reacts harshly, or it could be the market accepts that and this continues to move forward. We don't know. It all depends on how the analysts spin this in the morning, how the overall market accepts that earnings report, and how the overall market is. With the rate cuts coming up, we can still see Nvidia at $200 before the end of the year. Now, if you're new to the channel, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. If you're old to the channel, I would appreciate it if you would drop me a like. We got 37 likes, but 1,000 people here right now, so I need some likes. I would really appreciate that. Yeah, Nvidia could be 200 tomorrow. Like right now, it's hard to judge where it's going. You don't know. Could be manipulation. Great Gary says, can it be price manipulation? Could be. Don't know. Sometimes in investing, you just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or over the next week. Now, long term, yeah, it's going to 1,000. Short term could be either way. Depends on what the market, what the analysts say, what the media says, how much the retail investors take, how they take that information and what they do with it. All it takes is a bunch of retail investors panicking, and then the stock is going to fall anyway. So it could, like I said, it could be a longer term dip. It could be a short term dip. It could continue going. I don't know, but uh, there is something called a post earnings announcement drift that could work against the stock. It could extend losses. So we don't know. So, like I said, this was not a blowout expectations. So it kind of rattled the AI narrative, and a lot of Nvidia's peers, BBAI, or even SoundHound, could tomorrow morning follow suit. Now you got to say this is what we're doing. Investing is not about 1 quarter or 1 week. We don't day trade anymore in the CNC. We do, but that's not the focal point. Day trading is okay, but you make more money and it's easier and more passive to invest long term. And also, even swing trades are better. So, even in the group that I run now, it started out as a day trade community because that's what I was doing in the pandemic. Because I was pretty good at day trading, but only in confirmed up markets. But now we've expanded it into a new app, a learning community, networking community, and also a way for people to learn more about longer swing term trades and also long-term investing, building a portfolio over time. So this is good. All this Nvidia information is doing is a test of how resilient the AI rally really is. I don't think it's over. I strongly believe that AI has not reached the point of the bubble being bursting yet. I think we got a few more months, maybe even a year before that happens. Tijuana Huff, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Also, like the video if you haven't done so already. Now let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin. Talk about XRP. We're going to talk about some other things. So Bitcoin broke above. Let's get Bitcoin up here. So Bitcoin right now is at right under $112,000. You can see what's behind me. This is every order of Bitcoin happening in the world right now. Every bubble, every green bubble is uptick sales. Red bubble is bearish sales, downtick sales. So it kind of gives us a view of what's happening right now with the Bitcoin market. Now, the site is called Market Gravity, and it will be available for everybody to use in a few weeks. So it shows you all the sizes or whatever of every. This is actually our site. We're creating it. So it gives people a lot of insight into where the market's going. It tells you where analysts see stocks, a lot of information, a lot of it also picks out swing trade stocks, a lot of information, pattern recognition on chart patterns, all done through AI. So it should help people. It will help people research and pick the better stocks to invest in and build their portfolios out. So hopefully we'll have it done in the next few weeks. So let's move on. So Bitcoin did break back above that 112 mark before dropping back to where it's at now, right under 12. Solana exploded a lot higher. Institutional money is starting to flow into the ETFs. Fresh money is coming back into the crypto market. Solana spiked almost 9% after Sharp's technology revealed a 400 million treasury plan built on Solana. Now, I think that these treasury plans are going to become very, very popular in the corporate world because corporations are slow to move, but they're starting to realize that crypto is the future. Now, a smart corporation has the free capital to buy the crypto at a lower valuation right now and use it in the future for what they plan to do. That's what these treasuries are coming for. So pretty soon, because I strongly believe that crypto will be the centerpiece of the economic system in the future, every company will be compelled to build treasuries of one crypto or even multiple cryptos in the future over the next few years. So that's going to be buying pressure on Ethereum, Solana, XRP, all these coins that are going to be used in the future. So predicting which ones are going to be used in the future will be very, very important over the next 5 to 10 years. Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs have saw a lot of strong inflows, signaling institutions are re-entering after last week's pullback. Now, there's a lot of Fed uncertainty still, as talk of the September rate cut, with Powell signaling that he probably would do it, but there's a lot of political battles also threatening central bank credibility. So there's something else happening when we talk about ETFs. BlackRock is quietly reshaping crypto custody and now holds more Bitcoin than Coinbase and Binance. Now, you got to remember at the beginning, when crypto first started, Coinbase and Binance were the gods of crypto. They owned more crypto than anybody else because they were exchanges. And now that a bank or an investment bank is now the biggest holder in the world of Bitcoin and Ethereum, should be a signal to you where this market is going. It's easy to see that the big players are probably more than likely manipulating the market and buying up huge, huge amounts of the cryptos that will run our world in the future. Now, Bitcoin, XRP, and XRP actually has done good this cycle, 8 times return from the bottom. But Bitcoin and Ethereum has kind of been the disappointment so far. You could have got Bitcoin, let's say you got the height of last 67,000, now we're at 120 roughly, 112. That's not even 100% up. Now, that's an incredible return for an average investment, but we expected more from Bitcoin. Nvidia's went up almost that much in the same time period. So Oklo's went way higher than that at the same time period. So a lot of people are disappointed at the returns in Bitcoin. I can see that concern. I believe that it's being manipulated, being held down for bigger, sort of corporations to get in. If you see the market's down, but the price does not reflect what's happening. The government buys Bitcoin. Trump buys $2 billion. With BlackRock has now become the biggest custodian of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more than likely XRP. And yet the price is not moving. That doesn't make sense logically. There's something going on in the world of crypto. Don't know what it is yet, but I believe strongly that manipulation is taking place on a large scale. And one day it will be uncovered. But until then, we won't know. Now, somebody's asked me, what's your opinion on Kronos? I don't really follow that one, but I appreciate the super chat. Any more? We got 2. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and also like the video. Give me 1 second here. So, next thing we want to talk about is XRP. I'm sorry, Ethereum first. Then we'll talk about XRP. Now, I've always been pro Ethereum. I believe that's my number 1 holding of crypto. I said that last episode, and I've been saying it for years. I believe a lot in XRP, but I believe a little bit more in Ethereum. My belief in XRP was that the technology was severely undervalued before the lawsuit, and I still think it is. Now, Ethereum is my number 1 crypto that I believe has the most potential to transform a lot of things. Ethereum has pushed into fresh all-time highs over the last few weeks. Many analysts are starting to say, and I've been saying it for a while, this is only the beginning. Now, my price target for Ethereum was 8 to 12 this cycle, but there are some analysts out there saying we can get to 20,000 this cycle. And they're starting to put that news out there. The outlook is fueled by expectations of heavy money printing under the Trump administration. They're going to drop the interest rates. And a lot of people say that institutions, banks, and the elite will take that extra capital and they will funnel it right into Ethereum because Ethereum technically is undervalued. Now, if we go back to 2017, we look at the price of Ethereum and we look at the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's all-time high that cycle was 20,000. Ethereum's all-time high that cycle was 1,400 roughly. So when we go to the next cycle, Bitcoin's all-time high was 67,000. Ethereum's all-time high during that cycle was 4,800. Then we move on to this cycle, which we're in right now. Bitcoin's all-time high in this cycle is 120. Ethereum's all-time has just got back to all-time highs of the previous cycle. Now, if you calculate the parity with Bitcoin, Ethereum should technically be at around 8 to 9,000 right now. But it was pushed below where it should be due to two things. There was the Bybit hack, which affected Ethereum tokens only and Ethereum directly. And then there was, secondly, there was massive shorting taking place before that Bybit hit on Ethereum. So it pulled Ethereum back a few months. And all-time highs have just been reached in the last few weeks, but it's technically behind where it should be. So a lot of institutions, banks will see that as an opportunity, and they'll pour money into it to get it. If Bitcoin goes to 250, Ethereum should actually technically be at around 20,000 based on that parity with Bitcoin from 2017, 8 and 2020. It should actually be at 20, 25,000 by then. But a lot of people are seeing that, and people are starting to invest in Ethereum, especially organizations and banks, because they see that potential. Polygon ecosystem is a crypto used by Nike, Starbucks, and MasterCard. Yeah, I love Polygon. I read an article that Polygon is starting to move back into the United States. They moved out because of all the regulation and stuff that happened under the previous administration. And so they're starting to move back their operations into the United States, which is going to help them a lot. So the real reason, like I said, they believe that Ethereum could get to that price point is because of the money printing that's probably going to take place. Now, Trump has been actively lobbying or trying to get the Federal Reserve to drop the rates. Now, Trump remembers how money printing in the pandemic principally saved us from economic collapse. But after the pandemic, there was more money in the economy than we've seen in decades before that. There's a saying out there that said almost half the money that's in existence today, 35% of the money that's in existence today was printed in the pandemic. But since then, we've seen massive inflation. House prices have doubled. People think that houses are going up, but actually it just takes more dollars to buy your house. That's inflation. Food prices have went up. I went to Hardee's the other day. I bought a double hamburger and some fries and a soda. It was $18. I mean, we used to go to Chili's and get hamburgers for that. $18 at Hardee's now is the going price. McDonald's, you're not gonna get out of Burger King at less than $10. That was unheard of. Let's say $5. McChicken is now $3.90. Was it $3.99? McChicken is $3.99. It was 99 cents before the pandemic. That's inflation in action. I could go and I would get 2 McChickens and a water sometime back when I didn't have no money, and that was my lunch. But now you can't do that. The lunch would be like $8. McChickens have went up a lot in the past few years. But that's a bellwether, like we said earlier, an example of how high inflation is and what they aren't telling us about inflation. Go back to before the pandemic, prices were severely lower than they are today. But that all took place because the government printed a massive amount of money into that pandemic. Now, the extra money flows into equities. It flows into real estate. It flows into stocks, crypto, and other investments. Banks, the average person has extra money. They just spend it. Banks, the elite and the rich who get extra money, they got it through the PPC loans and everything. The government during that time, I probably got like $70,000, $80,000 during that year and a year and a half. And sometime the money would just show up in my account and my business partner's account, my other businesses. Money would just show up. One time my open account was $10,000 from Hillsborough County. Don't know why it was there. It says something about COVID relief or something. I have no idea where that money came from. But that's the kind of money printing that was happening during the pandemic. They just want to get rid of it. Now Trump remembers that. He remembers that the economy appeared to be doing well under that. So he wants to return back to those times. So he's actually pressuring them, or either trying to fire Powell to lower the rate, more money in the economy. So that would probably cause crypto to and probably stocks to appear to go up a lot, but really that just takes more dollars to buy them. But you don't want to be on the opposite side of that. Now, yeah, inflation is real. So even if your stock doubles over the next 5 years, it's still the same amount of money it was before that. But if you're not smart about it, you're on the other side of that. You didn't invest and you lost half your money. So you have to be smart even in a hyper inflationary environment. You have to invest or just to stay the same. So it's not, investing is not just about, I want to get rich and buy a Lambo. Not anymore. It's literally a part of survival. You have to learn to invest. Money can't sit in the bank anymore. When I was a kid, you went to when I was like in the 5th grade, they handed us these little books. Teacher said, if you put your money into the bank account, you'll get 7% return. And compound that over years, look how much money you have. Wow. I started sending my quarters to the bank and had a little account book where I put my quarters every week or whatever. That's no longer true. No bank on earth gives 7% returns on checking accounts anymore. That doesn't happen. That was closer to when we went off the gold standard. Once we went off that gold standard, we got farther and farther separated from sound money principles in which money should grow like that. But because we're so far away, we're forward. 50 years since the United States dropped, 54 years since they dropped the gold standard. When I was a kid, we were only like 15 years away. Now we're 50 years. So the farther and farther we get away, the less and less we have sound money principles, and inflation gets worse and worse. It accelerates. So Armando, 75% approval odds of an ETF for Dogecoin this year. Grayscale's application. Yeah, that is probably going to happen. There will be a Dogecoin. Once Dogecoin is an ETF, it's no longer a meme coin. Once the ETF is approved, the ETF itself is the application of utility. So it's no longer classified as a meme coin once that happens. And we don't know what can happen with the price. Could it be possible for smart contracts with Ethereum to automate a majority of consumers fare to big buys that are not too complicated? I don't understand that question. If you will restate it, I'll try to answer it. So, like I said, I agree. My prediction of Ethereum is still 8 to 12, but it could definitely get 20 because of the whales, institutions continuing to buy, and the momentum behind this ETH, Ethereum's breakout. Now, one of the biggest news that have hit that a lot of people aren't talking about is XRP treasuries. And Japan has greenlit XRP in their economic system. Now, that could be a catalyst that could cause major growth over the next year or 2 years. Bitcoin and Ethereum had their moment with the corporate treasuries. Now it's XRP's turn. A lot of companies are starting to stockpile Ripple's flagship token. The same playbook that MicroStrategy used, but now for different cryptos, different companies. Also, Japan's finance minister just signaled that he supports XRP in diversified investments for their citizens. That could be setting the stage for XRP's breakout. XRP right now is 304. Let's see if we can bring it up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Also, please like the channel. Like the video if you haven't done that. Well, XRP is hard to find. It's a lot smaller. We can just do this. Let me see. Where's XRP at? Where? Here? Oh, here we go. Oh, it's red. Maybe I shouldn't bring it up if it's red. That's the wrong one. So XRP right now is at 299, just fell below 3. There's a lot of XRP treasuries forming. Vivo Power is one that's committing $121 million to buy XRP up. Nature's Miracle is also launching another $20 million program. At least 10 more companies are starting to come in with a total allocation of over almost $1 billion. Now, owning shares in these companies are risky. I would always encourage you to own XRP directly. But the technicals do show that XRP is holding at the 280 support. Right now it's at 3, trying to break under 3, but it's holding at that 3. 310 is the key breakout level. If you're a momentum trader, that could trigger a momentum. It could trigger XRP's momentum towards 320 and on to $4. Now, the biggest news I said is Japanese finance minister did endorse crypto as part of the country's and personal diversified investments. He urged citizens to consider XRP as they move forward in retirement and also planning, family planning or whatever investment or any type of investment planning. He's encouraging the citizens and also the organizations to do so. This alone is starting to boost confidence in XRP adoption over in Japan, especially. Now, people don't realize this, but Japan is years ahead of the United States. They've already started to integrate XRP in the banking system in Japan. Now we have Japan's finance minister endorsing crypto as part of what they consider sound, diversified investments for the people of Japan. So these are all great news. XRP, like most of crypto, is more than likely being manipulated. That's the reason why it's not moving. This news has to reflect in the charts one day. Now, it may not be today, but one day you can. The thing about manipulation is that you can only hold something down temporarily. One day it breaks free regardless, right? It's like trying to hold a puppy. A puppy keeps moving. Eventually you tire out, the puppy escapes. Or a spring you're compressing. The spring still has loaded energy. It's going to explode one day. Same thing with assets. You can manipulate, you can suppress, you can lie, you can use FUD, but one day all of that momentum, all of that pressure explodes upwards, and the stock or asset or crypto returns to the value it's supposed to be at anyway. So I believe that's happening with XRP and overall all of crypto, to be honest. I think it's happening with everything. And you can see the companies, countries, organizations are buying it up huge amounts, but yet the price is not. That doesn't make sense. Something's going on, and one day we'll know. Now, the CNC family has passed 2,000 members. I think we're at 2,100. We're breaking records in my group, the CNC community and academy. This is the biggest influx of members we've ever had. Inside members are getting stock plays, crypto signals, direct answers from me and the analyst. You got access to me and the team. We go live all the time in there. We do live trade and we do live events. We got 2 big events coming to Dallas and New York City that CNC members can attend at no additional charge. If you're interested in joining the CNC, $127 a month. Existing members can also contact us about the events once we announce them. Now, if you're willing, if you're waiting, you've heard about the CNC, and you're waiting on the sidelines, other people are already in there winning, locking in their seats at the events. They're winning. They're making money. Now, don't get left out. DM me the word CNC or hit join the CNC or go to jointhecnc.com right now and get included in the group. I'll put it in the chat here. So let's move on. So I want to talk about 2 things. Palantir. Palantir has been on one of the people. I get a lot of questions about Palantir. It has dropped over in the last few days or weeks. It's down a little bit, but we got in at $6. Is at 158. One of the hottest stocks. One of the biggest plays I've ever called out. But a lot of people are concerned because Sam Altman and others have said that AI is likely in a bubble. We got SoundHound, Big Bear out there. Which AI stock really has the longest term upside is one of the biggest questions I get. Palantir, I think, has extraordinary upside. SoundHound, I think, does too. I think BB.AI, they all. My target on SoundHound is 15, always has been. BBAI, the target has been around $10, $12. We're about halfway there. Palantir dropped almost 10% last week. It's been the longest winning streak since I called it out. It's still up 109% this year, but a lot of people are starting to have concerns of continuing to see Palantir's fall. Now, even though there's 48% revenue growth, $1 billion in quarterly sales with Palantir, they're big wins. They just got another $88 million healthcare contract. People are, the concerns about AI being in a bubble are starting to overwhelm it. Now, like I said before earlier in the episode, I believe that AI is not over. I think it's just concerns that are happening too early. One day it will be a bubble and it will burst. All things like this form into bubbles. And it's not because the term bubble scares people, because the term bubble is seen as bad, like it's a scam. All a bubble means is that it was inflated too high and it came back down to the original, to the value it should have been in the first place. But If something starts out at $6, goes to 200, then comes back down to 80, the media calls that a bubble burst. But actually, the stock still went up almost 12, 13 times. So it's still an incredible growth story, but it just was overinflated past where it should have been. It came back down to the intrinsic or the real value of the asset. So that's all a bubble is. It's nothing to be afraid of. So got a super chat. Thank you, Romano, for all your knowledge. Also, do you think XRP goes up as XLM? Will follow as a value crypto? Yeah, XLM tends to be a sympathy rally for XRP, so it goes up as XRP goes up, just not. I think from this point on, it'll probably go up at a higher rate if XRP does well, but it's also more risk, so it's up to you to decide what you'd rather invest in. Big Bear posted an 18% revenue decline, but still holds a lot of cash, a lot of contracts, so I still believe in BBAI. I think that right now we're just in a flux period where a lot of people are starting to question AI, so that's going to cause stocks either stay flat or even start to drift downwards until all of this is solved. Palantir still has momentum, but they do have concerns about valuation. BBAI is a higher risk, but it has a lot of potential still. SoundHound still has that growth story that we want. It clears upside from out of the three. But I think long-term Palantir will get to 1,000. I think between BBAI and SoundHound does have the clear upside, but I wouldn't discount BBAI either. So last thing I want to talk about is IonQ. Now, for those of you who are new, I don't talk about anything but tech stocks. That's it. I don't talk about Coca-Cola or Hims. People ask me a lot about Hims. I said, we don't talk about that on here. So IonQ is one of those, I'm starting to like it a lot more. It's starting to look like an Nvidia or a Oklo type play. I'm not going to stand on that yet because I'm not sure. And it already is pretty high. But what happened with Nvidia is that you got to remember I make how many 10-time call outs I've made over the last 5-6 years? 7, 8? My win rate is extraordinarily high because I'm careful on what I come out and step out on a limb and say. Now, that's why I haven't 100% said I think IonQ could be a 10 times or a 10 bagger. But it does seem like it's starting to form into one. Now, there's two sides. Before the pandemic, till 20 years ago, fundamentals and technical analysis ruled stocks, right? And then something happened in the last 5 to 6 years. Hype has entered the picture. Now, hype is now a part of the market. You have to be able to judge hype. You have to be able to judge, because meme coins are all hype. That's all it is. So hype, and the government has said actually that's credible. So hype is now a part of finances. So you have to include that. So IonQ is a quantum computer stock, but they're doing something that whenever you create a quantum computer, right? You use quantum states to instead of like a binary. Classical computers use binary, right? So they have electrical states on the circuit board. They either at the bottom layer is either a 1 or a 0, right? That's all it can be. And those 1s and 0s add into letters. Those letters add into software code, and that software code becomes what we see: pictures, audio, whatever. But the base level of anything you have on your computer is 0s and 1s. The processes and also the data that we see, programs, everything. So quantum computers have more than 2 states. They can process a lot more data because they have a lot different states, right? So the way we make a quantum computer is that we have to use in nature what's called quantum states. Quantum states are almost infinite, so we can almost model almost anything infinitely because we have more states to use. And there's in companies, quantum states can be replicated. They can be replicated. Now, a true quantum state is down. The lowest bit or matter unit is a qubit. Go all the way down past atoms, past neutrons, past protons, go all the way down to what's called a qubit. Now, qubits exist in nature, but the thing about a qubit is that it does not take a state. It spins one way until you look at it. So it really doesn't exist till you look at it. Somebody has to observe it, then it comes into being, takes a state. That's so nature at the bottom layer does not even really exist. Has to be observed before it exists. That's the lowest state of nature. Now, you can use that state to replicate computer code. Instead of using binary that's ones and zeros, we can say, well, why can't we replicate quantum states, which they don't exist until we input data? Now, data can be infinite because it can take on any state. So there's two ways you can replicate it, or you can actually use qubits. Now, IonQ is the only company, or one of the only companies out there that is using actual qubits. Every other company is replicating quantum states. So IonQ is building a real quantum computer, more or less. Trapped ion technology, actually working with atoms and their qubits. It's more stable, more reliable, holds information longer than the artificial quantum computers. Company can scale a lot faster. It's a lot cheaper to make these chips, but the technology is a lot more advanced. That's why I believe that IonQ will be the leader. The question is how long it's going to take for this to actually come to fruition. And that's the question. It could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be a year. It's no way to really know, but I think it could be one of those 10-bagger stocks eventually. I'm not going to step out yet, but I kind of think that we're headed towards that. Remember the CNC passed 2,000 members? Biggest month in history, wins keep stacking. Access to me and my team every day. CNC members get exclusive access to live and in-person events. You can get in for $127 a month. Current members can also message us about events that when we release them, join the CNC.com, or you can DM me on any social media platform and I will send you the link. Don't sit back, let others win. Join the CNC today. With that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. I appreciate you and have a great rest of your week.